Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar called Become Resume and Interview Expert. My name is Monica Meilutytė and I am a career project coordinator at Student Affairs and Career Office at Vilnius University. Today I will be the moderator of this webinar. Before we start, I would like to remind you a few things. First of all, this webinar is organized by Student Affairs and Career Office. If you are a Vilnius University student and you are searching for a job or internship, or you have some study challenges, our career and academic counselors are always ready to help you. Secondly, this webinar is a part of the series called Time for Your Career. During it, representatives of Lithuanian and international companies share their experience and insights with Vilnius University students. Today, we have a webinar on resume, or as we call it, CV, writing and job interview. During the webinar, you are very welcome to ask questions, to write them in a chat, and I will read them to our speaker. Also, I have to admit that this webinar is recorded and hopefully will be available on Vilnius University YouTube channel soon. Finally, I am happy to present you our speaker, Rasvydė Gustaitė. She's a talent attraction and acquisition leader at the company called EY. She's an expert of resumes and job interviews, so don't miss a chance to ask her questions that are important for you. Rasvydė, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Monica. Nice introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Rasvydė, as Monica presented, and first of all, I would like shortly to tell who I am. First of all, I have more than 12 years of experience in HR in different areas, and however, last 5-6 years, I'm specializing mostly in attraction and acquisition. So all recruitment and employer branding activities is in my hands in EY Lithuania. And naturally, I also conduct interviews, review the CVs, evaluate the candidates, and proceed with the further steps to join our company. So I was calculating one day that on average, on normal year, I have around 500 interviews per 1 year. So this experience allows me to state that I have quite a lot of experience in reviewing the resumes, the CVs, observing the candidates, how they behave, are they prepared during the interview, etc., etc. So this.
Sorry for interrupting you. Could you please turn on your slides because they have disappeared somehow? Yes, now we see.
Okay, great. Sorry for technical issues. I finished that. Having quite a lot of experience allows me to state that this experience showed me a number of very good resumes and candidates, how they are prepared and how they do during the interview, and the opposite. So this workshop, this webinar, I hope will be more like orientated to the practical advices and tips and tricks, and I really encourage you to ask me the questions. I promise, and I will try to answer them all, and hopefully it will help you to proceed with your successful career. Why we are talking about this topic and why we say that this is important. So eye tracking study shows that recruiters look at the resumes for about 7 seconds. Myself, I didn't calculate how long do I spend on one resume. However, it's not a long time. Mostly you just review very quickly. You check for the keywords, you check for the main things that you're looking for depending on the position, and you take the decision. And the decision is made fast, whether to call candidates, to ask some more questions, whether to invite him to interview, and to proceed further. So the importance of the resume is really, really big. And I encourage you to look at this document with special treatment, I would say, because just one document can, decide your future. So really take it seriously. Talking about the structure and format, what are the main things, let's say, that you should think of is, first of all, you should keep it simple and easy to read. So first of all, the resume should not take more than 1 or 2 pages. So it really has to be tidy and like really easy to read. So the tip, use the bullets, especially when you are describing your work experience or your study projects or some extracurricular activities. Second of all, list the information in reverse chronological order. So basically the last work experience or the main thing that you have should be on the top of the CV or the resume. I will show you the examples later on, just the main information, let's say, to review here. Then, of course, highlight the most relevant experience and skills for the position. This means that using the keywords and selecting the experience or the project that you want to emphasize, talking about the projects your work experience is the most important one. Then keywords, again, as relevant to the job requisition. Really check the job requisition carefully because it will help you to adapt the CV accordingly. Then keep it brief to hold the attention. Again, not too long, 1-2 pages, not more. Include dates, and even if it's a career breaks or any other information that you are providing, and proofread and spell check. What it means, I really get a number of the CVs where, for example, the person indicates that he's really attentive to details. However, I find 3, 4, 5 mistakes, the grammar mistakes or other kind of mistakes in his or her CV, and it really does not prove the orientation to detail skill, let's say. Then, how to design your resume and what are the mandatory things, what are the optional things. I would look at this part quite, let's say, creative, especially if you are the student. Probably those optional things will become mandatory in your case, or most of the optional parts will become mandatory. And because most probably you don't have a huge long work experience or related to the position work experience, so then your projects, your other activities, accomplishments will be the ones that will help you to stand out. So first of all, contact information, really take, show your email, show your phone number correctly, because believe me or not, still we have the experience where I find the CVs with the mistakes of the phone or of the email, and then it really doesn't help, let's say, to contact candidates. Then resume summary or objective. This means that it should be like 3, 4, maximum probably 5 sentences, the main information that you would like to emphasize about yourself. It could be your main achievements, your mostly related to work or study things that you want to emphasize, talking about job requisitions, etc. Then work experience, education, and here, depending on if you are a student or not, might be that if you are still studying or if you have just finished your studies, probably the education will be number 1. I mean, before the work experience. And then skills, languages, the things that you want additionally to indicate. Again, as mentioned, if you are a student, be flexible here, and it could be that hobbies, that your projects that you were participating, your volunteer work, your extracurricular activities, etc., or other accomplishments will be the ones that will help you to stand out and look at this part creatively. What I mean, for example, people sometimes think that, okay, I finished music school and I am applying to the accounting position, and there's no need to indicate that I finished this music school because it's not related. However, the recruiters see it differently. Myself, if I see that a person, taking this example, right, finished the music school throughout his school, and it means that he had to study, he had to do the extra things to finish this music school. This means that he's dedicated, he will be goal-oriented, and he won't drop the things in the middle if something becomes harder, etc. So it's just a small example, but thinking of what to indicate in your resume, think of more bigger picture, be more creative here. However, think that it has to be not too long, 1-2 pages maximum, and indicating, like helping you to stand out. Then, thinking about the resume as such, let's break it down, the smaller parts. First of all, the contact details, it has to be really, let's say, short, nothing too special. Some advice about the telephone number, for example, if you are applying to the position abroad, indicate your phone number with a country code. It will help the recruiter just to contact you directly without searching what would be that country's code. Additional location. Again, you can indicate the city. It's not necessary to show your full address at this point, because email and phone number to contact you is enough. And as mentioned, it has to be no mistakes. Professional profile. This, as I mentioned, this part, as I mentioned, I really like. I'm reading it and read it more than a cover letter. To be honest, in our organization, we do not require the cover letter. I mean, in Lithuania, maybe some other countries, it might be the other, let's say, requirements. However, for me, this personal profile, 3, 4, 5 top sentences indicating about the main things about you is really enough. Again, maybe you want to show that your study results were great. Maybe you worked on additional projects. Maybe you were working in students' organizations, did some other extra activities or volunteer work. It could be, indicated here. Think of what is the most important. Presenting yourself. Core skills. Again, here is a person, the example of the person with a lot of experience, so he has very specific, let's say maybe skills. However, here's just an example and not necessarily the best for you. Think of the skills, first of all, what is required for the position. Maybe you want to indicate here also the language or the languages that you know. Maybe you want to indicate the under the requirements of the position, you might find the kind of skills requirements also. What is expected from you, and maybe within the projects, within the experiences that you had, you can indicate those here as well. Not too much, not too long. The main few things, I don't know, technical tools, whatsoever, what you really know and what you are into. Professional experience. Again, here a person is working in one company for many years, so his list of the bullet points is quite long. However, if you are a student and, for example, your work experience was, I don't know, cafeteria, for example, or some stores, think of the responsibilities that might help you to indicate yourself similar to the position. For example, in the position, probably you will need to communicate with the team members. Maybe you will need to communicate with the customers. Maybe you will need an orientation to details, etc., etc. So think of the responsibilities that shows that you had a chance to prove these skills. Right? So, for example, if you are working in a store and you were working with a cashier, and applying to accounting position, probably this working with cashier helped you with the skills on details on, I don't know, past some situations. I don't know, I'm just brainstorming now, but think of let's say how you could indicate that this helped you for the future position. Overview, again, it's a good way to start. Sometimes if the position is really not related to the position that you are applying for, maybe overview it will be enough. Education and qualification, as mentioned before, education might be listed up front your resume if you are still a student or recent graduate. So talking about the studies, I really like when people indicate how did it go for them. Sometimes maybe you can think of specific subjects that will help you with a specific position. For example, you were studying business administration, and under business administration, one of the subjects was accounting, and apparently you are applying to accounting position or audit or whatsoever, and the requirement is to have this let's say accounting knowledge or basics or interest in accounting, and here it would be the place to show that you were studying this the subject. Or maybe you want to indicate that it was your favorite, for example, but don't lie in the resume. Talking about, by the way, the education, it's not necessary to show when and what kind of school you have finished if you're already in the university. However, if the school is something special or your school results were spectacular, it can be indicated, and the recruiters for sure will notice that. Thinking about the reference, it can be indicated as available upon request. Again, if you have those, if you do not have those, it's not necessary to state the sentence at all. Hobbies and interests, again, as mentioned, depending on what part of life you are at now and what kind of hobbies and interests you have, it might help you for your future positions. However, if you are just like, I don't know, into walking in the nature or, you know, something that it's not necessarily will help you to stand out, it's not necessary to indicate. Using the keywords, so first of all, keep in mind that each of the requisition, each of the job application should receive a slightly different your resume. What I mean that you should first review the job requisition and adapt your resume accordingly. Mentioned this before, however, how to adapt it by using the keywords. And look at the job description, look at the company, maybe website profile, what keywords they are using. Try to find the people who are working already in this company and indicate what keywords they are using. And be specific, don't try overdo it, especially if there are some, I don't know, words that you don't really necessarily understand or have experience with. So be honest in your resume. However, if you can use some words, you know, differently and similar as the requisition parts or the job position parts, it will help you to be noticed. Yes, and talking about like overviewing this part. So first of all, 1-2 pages, not more. Even myself, having 12 years of experience, I have a resume of 1 page. So really, you can do it to, I mean, select the main information that you want to provide here. Mistakes. How to be sure that you didn't do any mistakes. Ask somebody's help. Ask, I don't know, your parents, your relatives, your friends, just to take a look at your resume, and they should look for 2 things: if there are mistakes or not, and if it's simple and clear, if they understand what you want to tell about yourself in your resume, and adapt it for the position, which I emphasized already. Good, so I finished the first part about preparing the resume and indicated the most important things in my opinion. Monica, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do have the questions, so I will read the first one. Should dates on the resume include years, months, days, or years only? Is there a difference?
Depends. For example, if your work experience is, I don't know, 10 years, so maybe it's enough just to indicate the years. However, if you are still a student and you have 2-3 internships, and the internship's length is different, maybe one internship was just like getting to know the company, which was 2 weeks, and another internship was 3 months, it's different, right? So at least months I would indicate. So years and months I would indicate.
Okay, next question. Should one mention if they haven't had any work experience yet?
This is the thing, like if you are still a student and you do not have any work experience, of course, don't lie that you have, right? But try to think of what you did extra. What else did you do during the studies, apart from the studies, together with the studies, right? So what did you do during the summers? What in general do you do after your lectures? And I am sure that every and each of us can indicate something. And if you cannot, try to think and build your resume even from now, even if you are studying in the first year of the university or second year of university. Now is the time to start building your resume, and by building I mean collecting these different experiences, volunteering, extra activities, projects within the universities. Right now, in my opinion, students have really a lot of opportunities to fill their resume. Even the companies, if you just check the, I don't know, the bigger companies, they invite people in open door days, in some projects, in some other activities. If you do not have work experience, maybe it will help you to show that you were still active, that you were still curious, and these kind of events, activities will cover the work experience in this case.
Okay, next question. Are there informal and formal resumes? And for what can we use informal resumes?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't probably say that there are informal and formal resumes. If you are sending the resume to the company that you want to work for, no matter if it's creative designers studio or a huge international company, still it's a resume, right? However, the form of the resume might be different. For example, the design studio in general, and it's not necessary even for the big company, you can select the form of the resume, something visually different, designed with the colors, with something differently visually presented. There are million of ideas online, and you can really select what you like. However, it still has to be in the same rules, that it shouldn't be too long and it has to be understandable. Sometimes I get really colorful, really fancy looking the resumes, which are really difficult to understand. For example, there are bubbles, lines, drawings, etc., that to really understand the experience is difficult. So in my opinion, it can be more creative or less maybe creative resumes, but if you're sending to the external companies, it's still kind of formal. If you're sharing the resume, I don't know, within your company, or I cannot think of other reasons. Maybe there could be some examples of informal options, but not sure.
What about the keywords? Are there any general, not position-specific keywords one could use in CV?
First of all, I would suggest you to build your CV, your resume, first of all, what you want to put there. Try to list your experiences, your volunteer works, your extracurricular activities, your studies, whatever you want to place there. Write the resume, and then before sending the resume to the position that it's interesting for you, adapt it slightly. Again, don't overtake the importance of these keywords. Don't start building resume by looking at the requisition. First of all, build the resume and then adapt it. It will be just easier selecting those keywords, and it's not necessarily has to be like just them and not any other language, right? So my suggestion would be, first of all, be yourself even in the resume.
How to realize which information is more important if you have a lot of experience in different fields?
Mm-hmm. When you are applying to the position, your different experiences will be on the different level of importance to that position. So that maybe should help you to select which one is the most important. That if you are not really sure and you still think that you should indicate this experience, you can place those under extra activities, for example, at the bottom of the resume, saying that you have participated, I don't know, in this project, or you had experience there, or it was there, etc. If the work experience is so long, still it has to be chronological, right? So we have, as a recruiter, we should see that you were working and you didn't have a huge career gaps in this case, even though if it was very different experiences, but still it will fill your possible career gaps if you take out something, right? So depends. Probably I should look at your specific case and help you know, to understand a little bit more here. But generally, like if you are, I don't know, a person who just finished the university and still have different experiences, looking at your future position, you can, I believe, select the most important ones.
We also have a question about the relationship between CV and motivation letter. Which information is better to mention in your CV and which in your motivation letter? For instance, awards.
The most and probably the all kind of information I would use in the CV. As mentioned, my priority is better to use this profile description rather than cover letter, because cover letters typically is taken as some kind of, you know, ask Google form and used and written in a way that are all similar. So unless you are writing the cover letter really yourself, showing why this position, why you, why this company for you, really something really personal examples, then it could work, and then it could help you to stand out. However, if your cover letter is just a standard draft that you find on any kind of websites, it won't help you to stand out. So taking energy on resume, I believe it will help you more rather than cover letter. Again, if the requirement is to send both, try to build your cover letter in a way that it would be personal about you and about the specific position and specific company, not just I'm a good specialist and I will help your company to achieve results. This is a very let's say draft example that everybody writes it. So probably that would be my opinion.
Our career counselors sometimes say that you can show your motivation, or motivation letter role could be sometimes taken by the email that you are sending. When you send your CV or resume, you could add a few paragraphs that
or
could
few
be
few sentences. Yeah, exactly. However, if you are applying to the bigger companies, most probably the application will be through the system, not just through the email. So you kind of won't have this opportunity to write your sentences. So in this case, yes, you can add the extra page. But again, if these are just, you know, 3 or 5 sentences, maybe just place them in your resume.
Okay, we have a few questions about the picture in a CV. Could you tell us, would you recommend to include it, where to include it, in what cases, and so on?
Very good question. On purpose, I didn't put this part on looking at resumes. International, global experiences shows that and advises not to place the picture. However, in Lithuania, it's still acceptable and still a lot. I would say the majority of the resumes we received with the pictures. For the recruiters, it helps maybe to remember a little bit the person and you know, just to remember that yes, this person I've seen, but whatever but it's not necessary and it's not mandatory and it cannot be mandatory. Two things. From one side, it can build kind of biases about you if you put one or another picture in the resume. From another part, whatever you decide, if you decide to place the picture, it has to be professional. I receive sometimes the pictures, the resumes, the CVs with the pictures of, I don't know, from the parties, from the weddings, cut, you know, like from the company, with the drinks, with the cigarettes even, laying on the cars, etc. Really, really different and really bad photos, not presenting you as a professional. So those kind of pictures better not to put. If you do not have the professional, normal, good-looking picture, that can be done just with a simple, you know, phone nowadays. Then, like, don't put, you know, those kind of like bad pictures. However, the professional, nice-looking photo, it can be placed. In LinkedIn, however, it is advised to place the professional picture, and maybe if you have also the LinkedIn profile, which is I strongly advise you to have also the LinkedIn profile. It helps again, and for recruiters and for the companies to find you. Here, the professional photo helps you to be noticed as well. So, unless it's professional, good-looking, good quality photo, otherwise no.
Thank you, Rasvydė. I can see that more and more questions are coming, but maybe we should make a break here and let's listen to the second part of your presentation, and then we will return to the question and answer session.
Great. Good. So, supposedly you stood out with your resume, you were noticed, and you are invited to the interview. Don't relax too much because you need to prepare. And why you need to prepare? Because this is a part, again, to be successful and to be invited to the further interviews or directly be offered the position. First of all, know the company. When you are invited to the specific interview, you know what kind of company you are invited at and what kind of position you will be talking about. So these things you should review. First of all, company website, online information that you find, social media, how do they present themselves, industry, understand the industry, understand the services, what they provide, or the products, what they sell, or in general, what do they do as a company. Be prepared to discuss and maybe have your questions. Always having your questions indicates that you did kind of your homework, you reviewed the company, you know where you are applying, and you know maybe what to expect, etc. So, know the company. Again, I really had in my experiences the examples where I have the candidate sitting in front of me and I'm telling why EY, simple question, regular question. I know maybe it's the question that it's repetitive in different interviews. However, again, it shows what you did about it. Did you prepare yourself? Did you read something extra? Do you know the company? So it's not necessary to know everything by heart and all the, by heart the values, by heart all the services, etc. But the main information, review. Know the position. Again, before the interview, review the requisition that you applied for again. If you do not remember, for example, it could be the situations that you applied to the position, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. The company calls and you just don't remember what exactly the position, what exactly the requisition was. You can ask them politely, of course, maybe to send again the requisition for you directly, just so that you could, prepare yourself, etc. It could be the cases that the requisition is no longer online, for instance. Again, it's normal thing to ask just for you to be prepared. Read the position, understand it, ask questions to the people maybe in your network who are working in the similar field for you to really understand what possibly you will be doing there. And be curious here, because you have to have your questions. Whatever the job is, whatever you imagine about the job and about the company, the reality might be different. So have your questions, right? If I read that I will be doing this and I will be doing that and I will be responsible for this, still double check that with the recruiter or with the hiring manager that you will be talking on the next interviews, just to really understand your responsibilities. It will show that you were preparing. And be ready to answer the questions. It's really typical, it's really repetitive questions probably in all the interviews. Tell me more about yourself. Maybe it can be formulated slightly different, but the thing what they are asking you, it will be this. So here, be ready, maybe practice if needed. What do you really want to tell? You will have probably 1, 2, 3 minutes. It's kind of pitch speak, the things that you want to indicate about yourself. Of course, it shouldn't be like, I don't know, I love cats, for example. If you're applying to the audit position, think of the jobs, of the experiences, of the things that you want to emphasize, that you want to tell more. Think of what interviewer would like to hear talking about you, about your experiences, what they are looking for, and be ready to answer this question. And again, the same information I'm repeating. If you do not have your previous work experience, or this work experience is not exactly related to the position, still some things, some responsibilities that you had, some projects that you were working on, some other activities that you did might be related to this position or to the requirements or to the soft skills that they are expecting. So here you can emphasize telling about yourself. Even though here's written, have a few questions prepared for the interview. Yes, list them, write them down. During the interview, it might be that you will be, I don't know, more nervous. You might forget those questions. It's totally normal to bring a paper, or if it's now the interviews is online, just to have them ready here and to read. Just to be sure that and you show the interest and to show that you were preparing and to get the information that you're looking for. And yeah, be prepared to discuss the gaps in your employment if any. Probably those questions might appear if you have, I don't know, 5 years of experience and 1 or 2 years was the gap. Most probably the recruiter will ask about this. And yeah, achievements and activities should be highlighted. Transferable skills that I'm indicating again, and it's just really important that you might think of the things that you've learned or you experienced in your totally not related activities or projects that can be that can show that for this position you already prepared. For example, in your previous experience, I don't know, working in cafeteria, you need to demonstrate a teamwork because you were responsible for the small team of waiters, I don't know. And in your new position, again, this teamwork is required. Here's a good place to emphasize it as well, that you have this teamwork experience, let's say. Yeah, prepare your examples. Sometimes the interviewer might ask you to provide some examples. You know, how did it go? Do you remember some project that it went well or it did not go well, etc. Virtual and live interview, the preparation of this part. To be honest, myself, I'm doing those online interviews for a while now, not this 1 year from when the pandemic started, but more. I would say it's like not really different. It should not be really different from the live interview. Still, you should show your real self. This is what the recruiters and hiring managers are looking for. The body language is important. Again, if you are online, you should not be, you know, like looking somewhere on the side or doing something extra that the recruiter won't understand what exactly you are doing. So body language is important. Be engaged. Again, try to look, I don't know, towards the camera at least, and to show your energy. Dress code, even though if it's a video or live interview, it should be similar. Okay, the top, at least for the video interview, should be as professional as you would be going to the live interview. Practice if needed, maybe talk to, I don't know, your friend or somebody, how you would be presenting yourself, how you would be emphasizing your one or another experience. Minimize distraction, check the technical part that it should be working, etc. And talking about the practices, there might be the questions during the interview that, for example, remember the school project, the university project that you were working on. What role did you take? How did it go? Think of the situation that did not go well. Maybe somebody was late, was not doing the jobs, and tell me more about it. So here you should be ready to tell about the situation or the task, the action that you took, the results that you achieved. Take 1, 2, 3 examples to just remember, even at work or work situations, just be ready to provide those examples. Topics to avoid in initial interview. Personal life, it's not necessary to tell in detail everything about your personal, let's say, life here. However, be genuine in this part. I mean, you know, showing your true self. It's not necessary that you have to tell, like, I don't know, what is your relationship status and all these details, right? Health information and these negative experiences with the previous employers. This question you might be asked, not necessary in a way that, okay, did you have negative experiences with your previous employers? However, yourself talking about why are you leaving or why you left the previous company, or how did it go there, you might mention some, you know, I didn't like this or that. Think of the wording, what you thought that it should be points for improvement, and you, I don't know, did not see yourself, let's say, in the long term. Select the softer language for this part, because if you really say all the bad things about the past employers, it might show that you're just a negative person. I don't know, and you know, the red flag for the company to select you. Maybe you're just always unhappy with everything, for example. So be a little bit more careful with this part. It's always okay to talk in general about this, what is not acceptable for you, what you are expecting from your future employer, what is the most important things for you when you are working at the company. But all these things you can, present through the positive side, like what is your expectations, what is your future wishes, plans, etc. So think about this part. Probably these questions, most of them we discussed. How do I balance answering questions without rambling? It might be that, just because you are excited, you're nervous, you will start like talking a lot and talking fast. Try to, take a pause if needed. If you receive the question, you really need a second, half of the minute to think, you can tell, can I think for a little bit? It's normal, it's okay to take a break, to think about it, and then to answer the question. Try not to stress out. The interview is not, it's not meant to somehow show you from the bad side. It's meant to get to know you. So try to show yourself in a way, your personality. What could be the questions for the interviewer or hiring managers? There are a lot. Normally, during my interviews, during the interviews that I conduct, I spend like 30 to 45 minutes getting to know the person, and then minimum 15 minutes, if not more, I leave the time for the person's questions. And here I always expect at least few questions to me, because I don't believe that external people can know everything so well by heart. Still, you might ask about the culture, about the events, about the people that you will be working with, about the responsibilities, about your performance, how it will be measured, about your development, what are the paths and what you can expect, etc., etc., etc. There are really a lot of questions that you can ask for the recruiter, and think of the most important for you and write it down if it's needed and ask. As we say in EY, the better the question, the better the answer, the better the world works. So we believe in good questions. And probably that's it. So now we can return to the questions.
Yes, we have received and still receiving more and more questions. Mm-hmm. So let's continue then with the question about the interview. During an interview, how to answer more successfully on a question about your weaknesses, or in what work area would you like to improve yourself and why? How to answer better on the trick question.
Mm-hmm. The connection was a little bit like gapping. If I understand correctly, the question was about how to answer the question about your weaknesses, right?
Yeah, part of it. Yes, mm-hmm. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So normally, myself as a recruiter, I try to avoid the question, what are your weaknesses? Because, you can really like Google how to answer the question about the weaknesses, and it will be all these draft answers that, you will tell that I like to work maybe too much, or I am maybe too oriented to details, etc., etc., which will present you, which will help you to present yourself in a better way, let's say. As a recruiter myself, I'm trying to give the situations, to ask the questions in a way that by talking about your experience, by talking about the projects that you were working on, you would tell me that, for example, yes, I was preferring, or I prefer to work individually rather than in a team. And here, if you did not prepare and did not really read the requisition, I see that, like, I know that in requisition we require the teamwork, as such, the passion about working in a team, and you say that you like more working individual, this will be the weakness. So the recruiters normally should avoid asking these questions about the weaknesses, and if they do, you can really, I'm telling you, just ask, Google how to answer the questions about weaknesses, and it will give you a million of examples to different kind of weaknesses, how to present them, and which weaknesses to select. Better be, if you will be prepared, you won't need this to discuss this question about your weaknesses. However, again, don't lie, right? If you really are the person, I don't know, which have some weaknesses that might be disturbing for the job, you can even discuss it with the recruiter. Will this or that is required a lot, or most of my part of the job, or etc., etc. So you can turn it maybe to the questions, for example.
This question also includes another question, which is like how to answer better on a trick question. So what kind of trick questions you ask during job interviews, and how the person should answer them?
I don't know, myself, I try not to ask trick questions. I try to get to know the person, and my purpose is to to create a comfortable environment so that the person would be as open as possible, so that I would know the personality. And if you will select to lie kind of to the recruiter during the interview, and you will be presenting yourself just to show that you are matching all the requirements. However, you are not, when you will start working, it will show. So you might start working within the company, but I don't know if the requirement was attention to details, if the requirement was be able to work in a team, if the requirement was curiosity and passion about learning and new information. These things are required not because we need to write something in the requisition, is because we expect this from our people. And when you will start working, even if you perfectly lied or perfectly showed yourself during the interview, it will show like that maybe you do not have those skills. So maybe sometimes better to ask the questions to the recruiter to understand whether this position is really for you. I always tell to the candidates that these days, nowadays, it's not just the companies who are selecting the candidates. Candidates are equally selecting the companies and the positions. And we really have this situation where we also have to wait for the candidates and their answers after we make an offer, etc. So try to understand the position, try to understand the company, and try to picture yourself within this organization and doing that job. Will you like it? Will you enjoy it? Will it give something for you? Will you grow there? What you will get there, etc.
Okay, next question. Could you tell the example when you immediately knew that you will hire or not hire the person during the interview?
Yeah, sometimes I have those examples. However, it's more called like bias. For example, I know that perfect like high performers in my organization that I talk to them, they are my colleagues, and I see the candidate who is exactly similarly talking, similarly presenting himself or herself like that person that I know who is high performer and doing very well in our organization. So sometimes I have this feeling, yes, this candidate will go well, but this is a bias. So I always try to work with my biases to really get to know that different person and to answer myself if I just like this person or this person actually will be okay to this position. So yes, sometimes I have this feeling, but I try to work with it. And opposite, it sometimes, you know, again, I have to work with myself to really get to know the person, to prove myself, or to find out that it's okay or it's not okay for us as a candidate.
Okay, there are a few questions about social media, and you mentioned that LinkedIn profile you advise to have. What about should people include links to LinkedIn in a CV or to their Facebook page? And in general, for instance, is LinkedIn resume as much valuable as traditional CV? What do you think?
I believe yes. LinkedIn is something that represents you as equally as a resume that you are sending out. However, the LinkedIn profile won't be that adapted to the position and that you know, because as we were discussing, you might adapt a little bit with your resume. The LinkedIn profile, it will be the general one that you take and adapt later on as a resume. But whether to include it in the resume, why not? Like if it represents yourself, you can include it, but probably it's not mandatory if you show all the information. But if your resume is not really clear, or if there are gaps in your resume, I might check you as a person on LinkedIn, because sometimes or most of the times in LinkedIn, I find more information about you. So if you, I don't know, don't want to show something, for instance, maybe you know, try to think if you are showing this on LinkedIn as well. But yes, LinkedIn, building your personal brand on LinkedIn, having the contacts that might be related for you in your future career, posting on LinkedIn your professional, I don't know, insights or experiences or just ideas. It's a good idea, and it's trending right now.
How should CV look then when you are sending it to the company blindly? For instance, when there are no vacancies at the moment, but you are really interested in working in the particular company and you want to offer yourself.
Then probably it will be more generic resume. However, if you want to work at the particular company, you probably imagine what you will be doing there. So still, you know, think of the things that the recruiter will notice in your resume and will think of, maybe, yeah, this is a candidate for this department that do not have the open positions right now, but it will appear, for example, in the future, and the recruiter will remember you. But probably it will be just more generic resume, or like your kind of your LinkedIn profile, right? That you are representing yourself.
As we also have in the audience international students that study at Vilnius University, there's one question about when applying to the job in Lithuania as an international student, are there any cultural differences to be considered?
Good question. Depending on the company probably that you apply, but still, if you prepare your resume tidy, clear, answering the recruiter questions, you might be noticed. However, it might be under requirements of, for example, the Lithuanian language is mandatory, and if you are not, if you do not know Lithuanian language, this might be the thing, the reason why you get rejected, for instance. But just for the application process, I don't know. Like I wouldn't indicate some like major differences. We talk with and international candidates, you know, foreigners and Lithuanians, and it's just the reason is the same: get to know the person and discuss future or possible cooperation. So.
Okay, next question. The person writes, I was wondering how to act in such a situation where a person recently had an interview in a small size company. Everything went pretty well. The recruiter said they liked the applicant and most likely she will get the position. The recruiter said, we will contact you very soon, but they never did. What should the applicant do in such case? Try contacting company or just wait?
First of all, it's always good to ask in what time frame I should expect your answer, even during the interview. If you do not have this information already and you are waiting for 1 week, for the second week, it's always a good idea just to contact, as especially you were promised to get an answer very soon. It's normal, it's professional, it's nothing bad to contact the company and to ask that you are waiting for the for your answer. Have the email contacts of the recruiter or the person that you were in contact with, so that you could write to them directly.
Do you have any advice how to get information about the company when the company itself presents very little information about itself on the website and on the whole of the internet?
Depending on the company, probably this case could be that it's a small company. That's the reason why you do not find a lot of information. But for example, if the company has at least, I don't know, 10, 20, 50 people working in it, most probably part of the people will be registered and will be available on LinkedIn. Maybe you can contact them. Asking, you know what, I'm interested in working in this company. I would like have a few questions. Would you mind to discuss a little bit, or just ask, or just answer this and that question? It will just show your interest. Because if Google doesn't show, then just people can tell, and then you just need to find those people. Maybe you know somebody who was or were working in this company. Maybe you can find somebody through your contact list and in LinkedIn. This again, building your contact list of people related to your career, to your future career. It might be helpful in at some point. So simple, probably simple answer here.
What do you think? Does a personality play a significant role during the interview?
Well, you know, depending on the position, probably there might be the positions that the companies will be looking strictly just for the technical skills in the person, but I would say in most cases, as everything is changing so fast now in our world, and the skills and the competencies that was wanted, let's say, the technical, I would say, knowledge that was wanted a while ago, now it's kind of old news and it's not applicable anymore. So companies, you want that or not, still as a priority put the soft skills, your creativity, your analytical thinking, your teamwork, your communication, etc., which kind of represents your personality at the same time. So this, I would say, not personality as such, whether you are introvert or extrovert, for example, because it's probably not necessarily the main factor, but like what soft skills, what those soft competencies you can prove that you have, or that you really, experienced. So I believe this thing, and in our case, we really look more for the for these kind of soft skills rather than for the technical knowledge. Even we check both, especially if we require something technical to know at this point. It means that it's important for the position, but it's not only that. It's always more, and it's always the bigger picture, what we are expecting from the candidates.
What about the salary? A very important question.
Yes.
When is it okay to ask about it, and how to ask it?
Mm-hmm. First of all, during the first interview, you can, first of all, now by Lithuanian law, it's mandatory to indicate the ranges or the starting salary or the specific salary of the position. So here it's approximate number, probably what you can expect or you can think of. Then, when you are already in the interview, at the end of the interview, you can expect the question, what would be your salary expectations? It's a normal question during the first interview. Be prepared to answer this. People sometimes think and sometimes say that, oh, I don't know what to say, I don't have so much experience, so maybe what you offer to me, I'm okay, I'm flexible, etc. That's fine. But still, you saw these ranges, maybe you know that if you are applying to the starting position, it's this. You can indicate a number and say, but I really want to work to your company, so I'm flexible. But this was the number that I was thinking of, or the ranges from to the numbers to indicate that will help the recruiter to to evaluate your price. I am looking to this process simply. We as a company buy the services from you. We buy your time to spend with us and to to help us as a company. And you have your price, and it's normal to have your price, right? So just think of it, check the requisition, what was indicated. If you are really flexible, indicate that, and don't be afraid to discuss about this salary question.
Do you invite people to the interview if she does not match all or most of the requirements for the position? And what makes you do that, if you do?
Depends. Sometimes if we need a candidate that the requirements are really broad, and we need just the person who not necessarily has experience but is interested in and wants to pursue his career in audit, for instance. I'm sorry for taking those audit, accounting, or tax examples or consulting examples, just because of the EY, this is what we do. But for instance, if you want to work to audit, your studies were not, let's say, in this subject, and you do not have this technical knowledge. Still, in your resume, like the interview will, the recruiter will be expecting that you are interested then in the finance, that you want to pursue your career in the finance, etc. So even in this case, maybe you can indicate that I don't know, you are interested in the stock market, if you are, right, or you were doing some extra you were studying some extra subjects to this matter, or you do something on your free time that would help us to indicate that you are interested in this topic. So I am looking for those extra things what I can find to show that the person is interested in one or another position, and not just, you know, applying and not understanding where he's applying, because sometimes it happens that the person is just applying in the sake of application, or looking for the internship, not reading that our internships is equal to the probation period, and we pay the salary and we include people in ongoing projects, and it's a real job. It's real projects that you will be working on. You know, it's not just fixing papers. In our case, then we select those interns more carefully, and we require them to be at least interested in this topic, or to want this career as such.
Thank you, Rasvydė. As we have received quite a lot of questions, unfortunately, we won't be able to answer them all. So I would like to ask you the last question, and it will be about the future. How would you recommend answering a question like, where do you see yourself after 5 or 10 years?
Again, myself, I try, and I do not probably ask this question, because in my opinion, I don't even see somewhere specifically in 5 or 10 years. I don't know what will happen in those 5 or 10 years. So I try to build this question in a way like, okay, what is your future aspirations? What do you wish in your future, or do you have your like some very close future plans for 1 year, for 2 years maybe? So maybe you can answer this question, you know, like slightly turning it, that probably like specifically to tell that I will be there and there in 10 years. I cannot tell you right now, but my future aspirations is this and that I will become a leader of this team, or I will be an expert in this matter, or I will be working in an international company, or I will have I don't know, my business. So, you know, you can always like slide and like turn your answer, and answer so sincerely.
Thank you, Rasvydė, for being today with us and sharing your experience and insights. As I see, we have lots of questions, and it's a very important topic for Vilnius University students and for guests that have connected to our webinar. Unfortunately, we have to stop here, but I would like to remind you that Vilnius University Career Center provides consultations for Vilnius University students and also alumni. So if you have questions about CV and job interviews, or we haven't answered the question that you have written today, so don't be shy to write us. Our email is careercenter@vu.lt. Thank you for participating, everyone. Thank you for Rasvydė, and we hope to see you next time on our series Time for Your Career. Have a nice afternoon and evening.